Hey, my name is Jacques Rougeau, and I'm the Mountie. I'm also fabulous, too. And I'm Quebecer. And you're listening to Double Axe Handle Smash Podcast.
Hey, John.
Oh, Josh?
You know, not only is it wedding season, but back to school is right around the corner. I think it's really important that everyone have the absolute perfect haircut. Do you know a place where they could go?
Yeah, I go to Old Town Barbershop in Somers, Connecticut.
You mean the one located at 48 South Road, Route 83?
Yes, it is. And haircuts are only $20 to start.
And their phone number, if you want to call, 860-604-5949.
And guess what? Now they have 2 barbers on duty, no waiting.
And they also do beard trims.
Yes, I went down there the other day, have a fresh new look. They trimmed my beard. They even used a straight razor. I'm all lined up everywhere. My neck is all good and all nice and fresh. I hate hair on my neck.
I just got to say, I mean, even though it's a very low bar, this is the best you have ever looked.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Go on, tell Jerry at Old Town Barbershop that Double Axe Handle Smash sent you.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, he is handsome, he's brave, he's strong, he's the Mountie, and he joins us now for the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacques Rougeau.
Woo-hoo!
How you guys doing? Thanks for the welcome.
And that is still one hell of a gun, sir.
Yes.
For a 66-year-old man, yeah, I'm very proud.
Every time I message him, he says he's at the gym, so.
I believe it.
Hey, that defines me, you know, just keeps me grounded and keeps my self-esteem good and all that good stuff that comes with working out.
So, normally we'd ask this question last, but you have something major coming up very soon. Please tell us what's coming up. What's happening this coming week?
Absolutely amazing. This Sunday coming up, it's going to be probably one of the greatest days of my life so far. And at the Bell Center in Montreal, there's probably going to be around 20,000 people, and the AEW is coming for a pay-per-view called Redemption. And I got a call from QT Marshall who wanted me to go and watch the show, and I told QT, well, you know, I don't really follow wrestling anymore. You know, I don't go to shows anymore that much. He says, well, Jacques, you got to come to this one. And then I said, really? He says, yeah, you and your brother. He says, we'd like to do a tribute to the Rougeau family, the 4 generations, 80 years of wrestling, and we're going to put something up on the giant screen, and then we'd like to introduce you and Raymond in the middle of the ring, and it was like, wow, like, you know, what a relief, like, you know, what a weight off my shoulder, like, you know, and I was thinking, you know, I haven't spoke to my fans around the world for all these years, and now I get a chance to just tell them thank you, you know, to all the fans, to what they gave us and they brought to us and they made us, and you know, so it's going to be a tribute to the Rougeau family from my great uncle Eddie Auger was the first one in 1946, and then his 2 nephews came along, which was my father and my uncle, Johnny and Jacques Rougeau, the original Rougeau brothers. And then the 3rd generation was Raymond, Arma, and myself, the 3 Rougeau brothers. And then my 3 sons, the 4th generation, Jean-Jacques, Cédric, and Émile. And so it's going to be amazing. It's going to be, you know, I used to see these kind of tributes. I'm a big hockey fan. And once in a while at the Bell Center, they have a Guy Lafleur or a Yvon Cournoyer or a big hockey player that comes on the ice, Pete Mahovlich, and they just announce him, although he hasn't been playing in 20 years or 25 years, and I always had goosebumps when I saw something like that. The fans just gave them an ovation for like 2, 3, 4 minutes, like, you know, and just and I was like, one day I actually wondered one day if the Rougeau family ever was going to get something like that, and it's all happening this Sunday thanks to QT Marshall, Tony Khan, and so I'm so grateful, and I'm really excited about all this.
Yeah, as you should be.
Oh yeah,
you deserve it. You and your whole family deserve that honor.
Yeah, that many generations going through the business, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's like 80 years, right? 8 decades of wrestling with the Rougeau family, and so I know. And the great thing about all this is that my uncle, my great uncle, my father, they were very implicated in society. They like my uncle Johnny was the best of all. He was the Prime Minister, René Lévesque, who was a separatist from Quebec, always wanted to separate from Canada, the province of Quebec, which is the French. And my Uncle Johnny was his right-hand man, his bodyguard, and like the Prime Minister, and like Katy Perry now and Justin Trudeau. But anyway, my uncle, my Uncle Johnny was René Lévesque's Katy Perry, and but it was amazing. And then my Uncle Johnny was also, he had a hockey team, a junior hockey team, which is right underneath the National Hockey League. And then out of that junior hockey league team that he owned, he became the president of the league. And then he also owned in the 60s the biggest nightclub in Montreal, where Chubby Checker, Tina Turner, they used to come and sing at the cabaret, the Mocambo in Montreal, where my Uncle Johnny owned that. So my Uncle Johnny, he was almost like Simon Cowell. What's the guy in The Voice there? Simon. What's
Simon Cowell.
Name? Simon Cowell. I always referred to him like he always has his finger in all kinds of pies. But my Uncle Johnny was that kind of guy. He was in sports, political, entertainment. He was everywhere. So we really touched the Quebec population in different ways. And then when you talk about 8 generations, like 80 years, then we have an appartenance, like we say in French. We have a belonging with a communication, a connection with the people here in Quebec. So it's going to be amazing. I'm very, very excited. I must have done about just this week. I must have done about 20 medias, from radio to newspapers to TV to advertising this thing coming up, and now I'm having a few sleepless nights. I'm waking up in the middle of the night where I'm going to get the ovation, and I'm tripping, I'm falling on my face. I'm having these things, but I can't wait. It's very exciting.
Yeah. How did you when you were getting that phone call, and I mean, it was a phone call, right? So
Yep.
when they called you, right? So when you were talking on the phone, did you already start feeling like the goosebump feeling, or I mean,
It was like I said, it was like a weight off my shoulder. It was like, for me, it was like something that WWE should have done a long time ago. And I'm going to be humble about it, but I was so upset in the last 10, 20 years of the Hall of Fame because everybody that we've worked with, whether it was the Rockers, where it was the Hart Foundation, was Tito Santana on singles, Big Boss Man. I'm thinking of all the guys that I've worked with, Coco Beware. Everybody that I worked with are all in the Hall of Fame. And then I'm looking back and I'm saying, it takes 2 to tangle in that ring. You can't have a great match with just one guy's great and the other one's an extra. It takes to have a great match. And we had these feuds for with the Hart Foundation. We had a 4-year feud. Like 2 years we were baby faces, they were heels, and then Jimmy Hart came with us, and we became the fabulous Rougeau brothers with the little American flags, and the Harts
American boys.
And then the Harts became babyface, and we did another 4 years. And a lot of things too that I was thinking of is on many cards with Hulk. Because Hulk for me is always going to be the biggest hero of my life, and in that era, and every time we were on this card, Hulk many times had to leave early during the evening for the next night to go do some promotional events and stuff like that for the next show. So they'd put Hulk on before intermission, and guess who they'd put on last? It was the Rougeaus with the Harts, or the Rougeaus with the Rockers, so they'd put all that weight on their shoulders to finish a show, to carry the weight, and we'd always produce a great match. And
you guys were the true workhorses,
And So that's why I believed, honestly, you know, I had this falling out with Vince McMahon, and now it's Triple H, his son-in-law, that's in charge. So there's a lot of heat between us, and but I always said to myself, you know, someone that goes in the Hall of Fame shouldn't be because of his personal relationships. It should be for his accomplishments. So when this call came in, you know, it was like, wow, like, you know, last year we were in the Hall of Fame in Europe. Europe put us in the Hall of Fame. It was Ben Veal's podcast. I don't know if you know them, but all the people voted for us to be in the European Hall of Fame, and that was a little weight off our shoulder. And now for AEW to come to Montreal and do it in front of our fans, and I know that after they introduced that video, and they introduced me and Raymond, I'm hoping they're going to give me the microphone in my hand, and not to bash anybody, but just to thank all the fans that supported us. And then I got so many messages, emails, letters, just saying, Jacques, you know, hey, listen, you guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, you know, and so I want to just say thank you to all those fans. That's all I want to do. So, and we're going to be probably on the first hour, like from 6 to 7, where it's not on the pay-per-view, it's before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I asked QT Marshall, when he told me that, you know, he said it's going to be before the pay-per-view. I said, darn, I wish it would have been on the pay-per-view. I said, so how many people are going to see us? He said, Jacques, there's more people that are going to see you than the pay-per-view, because that part is free.
Yeah.
So he says, everybody watches that part.
Yeah, the
and then
0
they
hour
decide
they
if
call
they're gonna
it.
buy it or
Yeah.
not. So I said, really? So wow. So now I get to say thank you to all my fans around the world.
That's good. Yeah, they call that the 0 hour. I've watched the AEW pay-per-view several times, and the first hour there, they have like a couple matches on there, and that's free. It's always nice, because sometimes I don't have the money to get it, so I skip it, but I'll watch the 0 hour and I'll get some amazing matches on there. So
that's awesome. That
I'm
was
glad
good news when QT told me that. That
Yeah.
was great news.
Yeah. How does your brother Raymond feel about this too? He doesn't do many interviews.
My brother Raymond doesn't show very much his emotions, you know, and it was so funny because when I called him and I told him the news, like, you know, I saw a sparkle in his eye, and I saw something like, wow, Raymond's happy, you know, like, you know, like, so yeah, I'm sure for him too, it's going to be a great weight off his shoulder. And, you know, I had, sorry, my nose is itching. I had 3 characters in the WWF. You know, I had the fabulous Rougeau brothers. I had the Mountie, which was a great character, and then I had the Quebecers, the 3-time tag team champions, and Raymond. And after our 4 years together as the Rougeau brothers and fabulous Rougeau brothers, he gave 17 years to the WWE as a voiceover commentary for Europe and for French Canada. Mm-hmm. And you know, so we gave over 30 years of our life to WWE, and we always did it professionally, like, you know, with all to the best of our capacities. And so that's why we thought it was just not normal that the Rougeau brothers or Rick Martel is not in the Hall of Fame. You know, like you talk about a guy like Rick Martel who, wow, like, you know, he's accomplished so much also, like, you know, so I don't know if it's prejudiced. I don't know if it's because, like I said, I had a falling out with Vince, and now, and you know, there's a lot of, if you guys have been around the business enough, that you know that there's a lot of, how can I say that, haters, and a lot of bad things that are followers, like, you know, like they're just brown noses, and, you know, or whatever you want to call them all, where they're politics. That's the word. That's the word my brother Raymond would say.
Yeah.
He would say there's a lot of politics. I'm a little more anyway. So all that to say that I'm turning my tongue 7 times before saying the words I want to say. So
you can say whatever you want on this show.
No. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But anyway, you guys get the message. Yep. Like, you know, there's like you said, politics. There's a lot of politics, and, you know, so now, you know, with this happening, you know, thank the Lord, and I feel great now. I really feel great. I feel complete. I feel like, you know, now I could go on. And now you ask me, how would I feel to be in the WWE Hall of Fame? It would be a plus, but it's not going to change my life. This is going to change my life. AEW, a company I've never worked with, Tony Khan, a guy I never worked with, and he's coming into my city, my province, my country, and honoring our family. That's first class for me.
Yes.
It is. Very well deserved. So, but going back in time, so because we're gonna, they're gonna pay you tribute to you and your family. What was it like breaking into the business as a third generation star?
It was well, there was good and bad. The good is that when in 1977, when I called Stu Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart's father, in Calgary. I called him up, and he knew the Rougeau family out east, in Canada. We were the two biggest families in Canada. There were the Harts in the west and the Rougeaus in the east of Canada. And so the reputation preceded themselves. And we knew about them, and they knew about us. And so when I called Stu Hart, he'd never seen me work or nothing. But when I got on the phone and I asked him if I could come and work for him, and he asked me, are you Jacques' son? And I said, yes, sir, I am. Yes, sir, I am. I thought he was ribbing me at the beginning, the way he was talking. But then I found out he was always talking like that. And it took him about an hour to say 2 words. And I was on a long distance putting quarters in the phone. And but anyway, all that to say that he, but then he, as soon as I told him I was part of the Jacques and Johnny Rougeaus, like, the son, he says, well, when can you start? And so it opened doors. So being a third generation, being a Rougeau, helped me a lot. The doors open. However, the expectations were high. So so I had the doors open, but then I had to come in and I had to prove myself. And they had seen and heard a lot about the Rougeaus. So that was the other thing. But the good thing about it, I was good at what I did. I wasn't big, I was small, but I was a high flyer. I had a lot of charisma since I started in this business, and there's no gray zone with me. No, it's black or white, and it's transparent when you talk to me, when you meet me, and it was coming across like that, and I've been following the business since so young. I think since the age of 5 years old, I used to go watch my dad at the Montreal Forum, and watching him every week, and seeing the wrestlers come at my house, and the day before the big show, and talking about the finish they're going to do at the Paul Sauvey Arena on Monday night or the Montreal Forum. So I met Joe LeDuc, Abdullah the Butcher, when I was 4 or 5 years old. These guys coming at my house, and I start imitating them around the pool, and and having fun, just needing of attention, and just had the showmanship in me that had to come out. And so for me it came easy. So the doors were opened a lot. But when I came in, to give you an example, Raymond came in 1972. We started in 72. I started in 77. But my other brother, Armand, he started in 79. And Armand, it wasn't his passion. It was his second job. Armand was a mechanic, and finally the garage closed where he was working at, so we convinced him to be a wrestler. But it wasn't his passion. So he had a big mandate, because he had to follow Raymond, he had to follow me, which we were passionate about what we were doing. And when he came in, he also realized that all the doors were opening, but when he got in the ring, it was a different story. He wasn't as talented, not because he couldn't have been, it's just that it wasn't his passion. And I always say to people, you're only as good as your passion. Because somebody who's passionate about something in any kind of line of work, if you give the time and day, you're going to become good at it. So for me, it worked very well, because doors were opening and I was coming in full speed, and I was taking every opportunity and creating some more. Because when I go in a territory from when I was in Calgary, then the door opened up in Mexico, and then I went to Mexico, and then I went to Kansas City, and then I went to Knoxville, and then I went to Atlanta, and then I went to, and when I went to Atlanta, that was amazing, because I fell in the good grace of Ole Anderson. And Ronnie West was a referee then, and they loved me to death. I was the biggest jobber that existed in the territory, but I was doing jobs for everybody. But they kept me for 1.5 years doing jobs. And then the good thing about that is, every time I'd go work with some great talent like Ric Flair and stuff like that on TBS, well, I was seen across the country from Boston to Los Angeles, because TBS was seen nationwide. so across the country. So that opened so many doors. Then there came a time where I couldn't fulfill all the engagements that were sent to me. And like I said, Oli liked me so much, he always went to see the talent, said, hey, guys, you're going to take it here on this guy here, but make him look good, make him look good. So I'd look good during the match, and then I'd get beat. And so that opened a lot of doors for me. And eventually, Robert Fuller in Pensacola, that's where I had my first big break. He fell in love with me big time, and then he had Joe LeDuc there at the same time in Pensacola, Florida. It was a great territory. And I won my first heavyweight championship against Joe LeDuc. And then I started getting into scenarios and the storylines. And then I started in 82, 83, I started growing in the business now. It was like I'd started in 77, paid my dues, and now in 82, 83, here I am, headlining sometimes, and just underneath the main event. And then in 85, that's when I had the big break in WWE and WWF. Yeah.
A quick follow-up question for what you said before. When you went to Calgary to visit old Stu, did he take you down to the dungeon and stretch you out at all and try you out?
Absolutely not. He tried. He definitely tried. But, I always had somewhere to go or an excuse. And it's so funny because I thought he liked me a lot because he invited me over every Sunday to go have brunch at his house with the 25 cats and the 20 kids. But then I realized after that every time we'd finish a meal, he'd ask me to go downstairs to the basement, and I couldn't go because I'd heard so many stories about it. And me not being a shooter in life and a real fighter in life, I'm an entertainer. I kind of stayed away from there. And I heard many stories. I guess you have too, huh?
Oh yeah, read a lot of books too.
Yeah, read a lot of books.
Moving on to WWE, when you first got in there, Bret Hart, they were already there, right? The Harts.
Yep. Yep.
When you first went into WWE and you got there and the Harts were there and everybody, did they help? Were they there first before you were there? And did they help because they knew you before? Did they help protect you and show you, the ins and outs?
I think it was everybody was out for themselves, and it was like I was in an era where the tag team was so strong. There was so many good teams, the Islanders, the Bulldogs, the Axe and Smash Demolition, there was the Killer Bees, there was it was a tag team era where I'm trying to think of all the teams that were there. It was amazing. We had actually one pay-per-view. I think there was 10 teams in the one match. So it was a very competitive time. And you got to keep in mind there was a lot of money involved, not like today, but there was a lot of money compared to the small territories you were before going to WWF, and then so you just upgraded. So you got to remember that in the business, people make a lot of friends between the boys, and so if you have two new guys that come in the territory, well, you got to remember that there's two guys that are already there that got to be put on the shelf. So it's like, so every time someone comes in, someone's going out, so it was a dog-eat-dog world, and the Harts and everybody had their own friends already, so when we came in, there was no question of, we had to prove ourselves and we had to make our way, and to win the people and win the promoter, and it was a constant battle, and there was a lot of backstabbing too in those days. There was a lot of teams that everybody was pretty much so diplomat. Hi Jacques, how you doing, Raymond? Nice to see you. Glad you're here. And then you turn your back and there'd be those whispers. Yeah. Those whispers. So it was but like I said, you had to fight your way, and Raymond and I, we did that. We came in and we made our place. We won our place not by brown nosing or anything like that. We made it by working hard. And Raymond and I, we were good workers. We had been together for many years in Quebec and Montreal, breaking all kinds of records against the Garvin brothers and Pat Patterson and Pierre Lefebvre and Frenchie Martin, and we had a lot of local talent that we worked with, and we did so well. And as you know, Vince, he was a smart one. He went to get all the best talent around the world. He recruited the best talent when he created WWF. So it was a hard-working territory, and mostly the hardest thing was the travel. I'm sure everybody told you it was like 25 days a month, and it was like traveling in our suitcases, and then sometimes double shots on Sunday, and it was hard. And a lot of people told us in those days, "Wow, you guys are so lucky. You're traveling around the world." Yeah. Try a 6-hour flight with a guy that's 300 pounds beside you, and coach, and try with a guy that washes once a week that's sitting beside you on a 6-hour flight, or try going to somewhere where you land and they lost your luggage, and there's so many things people don't know. And then once you landed after a 5-6 hour flight, because every day we're changing countries, changing cities, changing provinces, and there was time change, there was jet lags, there was delays, airplane cancellations. It was so hard, but we stuck together. Everybody, we kind of helped each other through that. Everybody, to look at each other, and it was so many times. It's funny, between the boys, we'd look at each other, go through situations of traveling and stuff like that. And we'd be like, Jesus, you believe this? And then I remember flying 37 hours and getting off the plane in Sydney, Australia, or Melbourne, Australia, and 4 hours later being in the ring, after traveling 37 hours, but people didn't see that side. But it was very, very hard, demanding. And then you had 3 days off, a month, just about 3 days off, and then you could finish in Hawaii, and you live in Montreal, so you could count your first day off gone when you finish traveling and getting home, and then if you'd start back in Los Angeles or somewhere else, you count your last day off gone. So so people have no idea how hard and how dedicated we were, everybody, all the talent, to make this happen.
Yeah, when you went to places like that, you didn't really get the time to enjoy the actual city, such as going to Hawaii or something. No.
Nope. Didn't go surfing in Hawaii, I'll tell you.
Real quick, at this time though, who was your when you're besides your brother, who was your ride-along partner, or your hotel partner? Who would you pair up with a lot of the time driving around?
I only paired up with Carl Ouellet as a Quebecers, because I had brought him in as my partner. Yeah. And so he was like my little pet project I brought with me. So I took care of him. But apart from that, I always drove alone. When I was a Mountie, I rented my own cars. I was very solid there, because it was, how can I say that? The only reasons why I paired up with my brother Raymond all the time, and with Carl, and all by myself all the time, is because I was a little different. And if you talk to the wrestlers, they'll tell you Jacques was a little different. I didn't go out in bars. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs. I was very dedicated, and get up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, and then go catch my flight, or I'd go catch my flight at 5 in the morning, land at 11 o'clock, 12, and go to the gym, and then after the show I'd go to sleep, because I knew the next morning I only had like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So, but I was always on time. There was no question of me being late, never. And out of the 10 years that I was there, I was never late. And but a lot of the guys, sometimes they took it a little lighter, the business. After the show, they were looking for clubs, nightclubs, and different things, to do. And anyway, I'm not going to go in details, but anyway, all that to say that my different lifestyle made it that I needed to travel on my own. I needed to be with someone that was like me, or travel on my own. So, and it's so funny, because the majority of the talent, I'm thinking of guys like Tito Santana, and I always think of Tito, and I always think of Jimmy Hart, and I always think of there's a couple of guys that were like me, and Rick Martel, and that they were just so dedicated to the business, like, you know, no messing around, no nothing, going right to bed and going like, and so it made it hard. It made it hard to team up with somebody and traveling, like, you know, and you know, sometimes, you know, also, to be honest with you, I don't eat the same things people eat. I don't eat at the same time people eat. I don't. So when you're on the road like that, yeah, I would rather pay my own car by myself and my own hotel by myself, but have my own schedule.
Yep.
And then.
Yeah. All right, so I have to ask you this. March of '87, WrestleMania 3. I'll never forget, as a fan, watching that on TV when they cut to that crowd, and it's just packed. What was it like to perform in front of that crowd that night against the Dream Team?
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was new. It was just something new. It was like Andre the Giant against Hulk Hogan. They built it so big at Pontiac Silverdome, and I remember getting there early. You know, we were there like I think a day before that doing promotional things and for the company. And I remember getting to the building at the Pontiac Silverdome early, and I remember my brother Raymond saying, "Hey, let's take a walk and go to the top, like, you know, just to go see what it looks like." 93,000 people just to go look with empty seats there before the show happened, and you know, and you could barely see the ring, to be honest with you. Thank God there were so many giant screens everywhere, because now I think the people that were there, they weren't there to see the ones in the rafters up there. They could hardly see the matches. They were there just to participate in this event, to be able to say they were part of this event. And I remember, it's funny because I remember starting to dress up in the dressing room and putting my boots. Now I'm a 10-year veteran by then. I'm not a young pup anymore that's coming in the dressing room. You know, I've been around. I've been so many territories. I've been around the world. And I remember tying my boots, and my foot was going like this. Look at this, John. My boot was going like that, and I was trying to put my laces through my boots, and my throat was so dry. I don't know if you ever lived that, being so stressed out and nervous that you don't have any more saliva in your mouth.
Yes.
You know, and that's how I was before going out there to that match, and it was something absolutely that you could never explain to someone who's never got put on that pressure, because we knew it was seen worldwide, you know, and then again, it reminds me, because I love music, it reminds me of The Voice, you know, and when I see that, that's why I love The Voice so much, because the talent go out on stage, and then it's you make it or break it. Like, you know, if you go out there and you screw up, everybody's going to laugh at you for the rest of your life, you know, around the world. But if you make it, everybody's going to love you, and you're going to become a superstar. Like, you know, so it's make it or break it. So I knew by going out there in front of 93,000 people, and so many countries around the world seen this live event, including my hometown. You know, it was very stressful, because it was like, you better do good. And I knew that I had to do my bomb off the top rope there, like, you know, my ass bump in the face of Greg the Hammer Valentine, you know. And Raymond had to pick him up, and I knew that jump I had to do there it became very stressful, because, you know, you're doing one of the greatest moves, you know, in the business in those days, one of the high flying moves in those days that are dangerous, and you're in that split second. You're gonna either woo the crowd, or people are gonna laugh at you for falling on your face or whatever. And so it was very, very stressful. It was an amazing time. And thank God that we pulled through, and we survived. And I remember just going back to the dressing room after, and just like after the match, like, we did it. Like, you know, we did it. We didn't look like idiots, you know. And then so it was an amazing time, and it was the beginning of an era. That day was at the beginning of something new. That's when people from all parts of sports entertainment started watching wrestling. they just start. They looked at wrestling, and then they gave that show gave credibility to wrestling. So hats off to Vince McMahon and Hulk and all the people involved to creating that show. It's me being a promoter for 20 some years. I can tell you that they accomplished something absolutely unexplainable, phenomenal.
Well, so something else you touched upon earlier was how deep that tag division was in the 1980s. Like if you watch Survivor Series 1987 and 1988, when they do the all tag teams match, it is just a murderer's row of talent. Is there a particular team or two that you really just loved working with during that time?
Yep, absolutely. The two best teams for us that we were married to that we really enjoyed was the Rockers and I love so much Marty Jannetty. Marty's so underrated. Marty Jannetty. He's such a great talent. Holy mackerel! Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? I don't understand. He is one. He reminds me of a guy called Bobby Eaton. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy.
Oh
called
yeah.
Bobby Eaton.
Oh, we know.
I love me some Bobby Eaton.
He used to work with me in the smaller territories for Nick Goulas and for those in Nashville and he was such a great worker. And Marty Jannetty came from that kind of wrestling, and Shawn Michaels it speaks for itself. So what great talent, and the matches we had with them, and then the Hart Foundation. Although Jim the Anvil Knight was not as not as a great wrestler, I would say. He was very charismatic. He had a lot of charisma. We married him to his role, like being the big bully, and the big and so after working 4 years with him, we worked so it became fun. At the beginning, it was a little rough because he was rough on the edges, he wasn't very smooth as a wrestler. He wasn't the class of Bret or Shawn Michaels or Marty Jannetty, but we calmed him down, and when we kind of took him and we said, hey, do this and this is fine and do this and things smoothened out, and then at the very end, the Hart Foundation against the Rougeau brothers, we had some matches. Holy mackerel, we'd tear the house down, where it was in Madison Square Garden or wherever. We'd always had the 20,000 people on their feet. And so those two teams, I would say, are the two teams that I had the most fun working with, yeah.
So, all right, so you come in as baby faces, and then slowly, though, you start transitioning on over. Where you started doing we're going to be relocating to the United States and everything. So what was it like going heel? Like, was that something you guys pitched? Was it something that was pitched to you?
Yeah, it was pitched to us. It was Vince. What happened is it's so funny because for 2 years, Raymond and I, we'd come in, and as soon as they'd announce us from Montreal, Quebec, people would be like, there was no yeah. It was more like, okay, we'll be polite. And then as the match went along, we'd work so hard, and we'd get them, whether they liked it or not. We'd wrap them up in our work, and by the end of the match, it was like, yeah. So we had to work and win them every night. But then the funniest thing is we'd come back to the same town 2 months later, and it was like, and then we had to win them over again. And every time we went back, we had to win them over again, but we'd always win them. By the end of the match, they'd love us. They were up on their feet. So I guess Vince realized that this is not going to happen. So then Vince came up to us with Pat Patterson and had this idea of turning us heels, and we were like, whoa, never been heels before, no, not in front of our hometown and being on TV and everything like that. It was like, well, give us a few days to think about it. So we told Vince, and then finally we came back, and we saw that there was really no avenue for us to become World Tag Team Champions as babyfaces. There was no chances. So we said, and Pat had told us that, you guys want a reign with the belts, you're gonna have to do it as heels. And so we turned heels, and it was funny because it didn't take us 2 weeks and we were into, "Hi, I'm Jacques, and I'm Raymond. We're the fabulous Rougeau brothers. We're moving to Memphis, Tennessee, and we're all American boys now." And you know, and then before you know it, it's like we'd like to wish you a great Memorial Day when it was Independence Day, or it was another. And we love the United States, and we had this little teeny little flag that was, and yeah, we naturally knew how to get heat. And it was so funny because then it was different. Then we'd hit the arena. As soon as they announced us, they would boo us out of there, like the building. Like, you know, we had so much heat with them, and when Jimmy Hart joined us and everything. So from that time on, you know, it was I think from that time we became unforgettable after that. You know, from then on, the fabulous Rougeau brothers had a great part. Come on, John, it's your turn, John.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Josh is giving you the goose there. Like, come on, John, wake up.
What was it like working with Jimmy Hart? And
wow,
was he just on-air manager, or was he actually, like, did he help you out on the road at all, like backstage?
You just hit it right on the nose, my friend. Jimmy Hart, what a great question. So it took you time to ask me. It was good, but now you ask me, I'm going to answer it to you. Jimmy Hart was the greatest manager of all time, and I'm telling you right now, I was there for 10 years. There's not one manager that was as good as him, and I will tell you why. There's so many reasons why he's the GOAT for me. He is the best manager of all times. The guy didn't drink, didn't smoke.
Right.
He didn't go out in nightclubs. The guy was on time. He had a 12:30 interview. He was there at 12. The guy would buy suits and dress up, make suits like the same costumes as his characters. The guy would take a microphone, and as soon as the microphone fell in his hand, he would say, "Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about my man. Let me tell you something about my man." It was never like, "I'm the smartest," or "I'm the brain," or "I'm this," or "I'm that." It was always his man. He was always putting the heat on his talent. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Hart created two of the most iconic songs, you know, in the business for the Rougeau family. Well, we're in the top 10. I got two songs in the top 10. That's not funny, you know. And Jimmy Hart is the creator of all that. Yeah. You know, so Jimmy Hart, you'd talk to him, you'd have family problems outside of the business. You'd go sit down with him. He would give you advice. Mm-hmm. He would listen to you. He was kind to everybody. He was, you know, I've never heard anybody in the business say something bad about Jimmy Hart. And then so on all aspects, on all points, Jimmy Hart is. And you know what? When I came back as the Mountie, actually, after the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Vince called me up to offer me this gimmick as the Mountie. And I told him 2 conditions. I said, the first condition, I want to have Jimmy Hart as my manager again. That was my first condition. I was coming back as the Mountie. And the second one is that I can be able to bring an electric shock stick. I wanted to bring a cattle prod. Yeah. And that was my condition. And then and so Vince says, you got it. So that's how great Jimmy Hart was.
Well, actually, that was my next question. I was going to ask how the Mountie was pitched to you. Is there anything further we can say about that?
Well, Vince had a great idea. He had the American cop, and he wanted to create once again almost like Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik. You know, the nationalities always draw. Anything against the Americans, you know, if it's well done, it's going to draw. And so, what a better way to have a Canadian cop and an American cop go at it? Like, you know, so Vince had the great idea, and so he called me up, and Vince had so much respect for my work, and so he called me up, and he wanted to do this, and it's so funny because before you asked me, I finished my character as the Mountie, and I took another year off, and I met Carl Ouellet in Puerto Rico. He was in the independent scene, and then he came to see me on the beach. He's a French Canadian, and so I'm in Puerto Rico, and this French Canadian guy comes to me. He says, "Hey Jacques, bonjour, je m'appelle Carl Ouellet." And I said, oh, how you doing, Carl? I said, from Montreal. I said, yeah. He said, Jacques, he says, I don't want to bother you. He said, I was against Abdullah that night in the main event, and he was in the first match. And he told me, he says, I just want to ask you a favor. He says, can you watch my match? That's all I want you to do. Can you just please watch my match? I said, sure. As a fellow French-Canadian, sure, I'll give him some advice. I'll watch his match, and I was happy to do it. And when I saw his match, I couldn't believe what I saw. The suicide moves that he did, and the bouncing around the cement floor like he was a Gumby, and then I was like, holy mackerel. And then I started thinking in my mind, hey, with the way I talk and the way I direct things in the ring and the way he bumps, we could make a hell of a team. So I remember him coming to see me after the match, and he said that was in the middle of the show because I was on last. So he came to see me. He said, "Do you have a chance to see my match?" I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, he says, "Well, Jacques," he says, "I've been trying to send tapes for 10 years to WWF, and they're never answering me back." So I said, "Well, I'm going to answer your prayers, my friend, because I'm going to call Vince, and I'm going to ask him if I could come back as a team with you." He says, "No." I said, "Yeah." I'm going to ask him. I think I got an idea. I think you and me could do really well together as French Canadians. And he says, I don't believe you. I said, "No, I'll call you next week. Give me your number." So next week I called him, and in between I called Vince. I said, "Vince," I said, "I think I found my new partner." And he says, "Really?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Who is he?" I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, I'll get something together to you, and I'll send you something. So about 3-4 months, 5 months after setting up a ring in my backyard and practicing all these different crazy moves that we were doing, and I send him a tape. And then he says, "You guys are coming and starting in September." So I called Carl up. I said, "We're starting in September." So the first match we had against the Steiners, we became World Tag Team Champions on Raw. The first night we wrestled. So you talk about a dream, for Carl Ouellet, who came to see me on the beach in Puerto Rico, and then 8 months later he's World Tag Team Champion. So that's how that happened.
How'd you go from singing the song "I Am the Mountie" to when you're in the Quebecers, "We're not the Mounties"?
Well, that was a wink. That was a little wink there at the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who took an injunction against WWF, and that's why my character, the Mountie, got disappeared really fast, because I wasn't allowed to wrestle on Canadian TV anymore, because I was such a bad image for the Canadian. I never understood that part, because you have so many movies where you have crooked cops and things like that, and so we're entertainment, but the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they were high on their horses, I guess you could say that, and so they the big top guns, and they just sent an injunction and said, "We don't want to see that character on TV anymore in Canada." So they banned me from wrestling in Canada. But the problem is all the TV tapings that were done in Japan and Australia, around the world, they were taped in the United States, and they were only doing one taping, but they were sending it to all the countries. So now, since I couldn't wrestle in Canada, they couldn't put me on TV anymore as the Mountie. So I was going to wrestle as Jacques Rougeau sometimes, the short, the sleeves. I had to take all the logos off, and so my heat dropped and all that. So the character disappeared. So when we came back, he actually suggested us that we dress up the same way, but you guys are not the Mounties, So he wanted to just kick the Mounties in the rear end a little bit to give them a receipt for. So that's where that came from, I guess.
Can we get you to sing the song?
No, you can't. But I don't have a voice. I'm the Mountie. I'm handsome. I'm brave. I'm strong. I'm the Mountie, and I enforce the law. You could try to run, but you can never hide, 'cause the Mountie always gets his man.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, all right. So they paired you off as the corrupt cop against the good cop. So you had your feud with the Big Boss Man, culminates in the big match at SummerSlam, which then leads to one of my favorite things, which is you having to go to jail. And to anyone watching this, go out onto YouTube, because on the WWE Vault channel, they actually dropped just the footage of you being sent to prison that night. Okay, what was it like to film that?
It was amazing. It was amazing because, in this time, in this storyline, you always have hope that your character is going to last. It's going to keep the heat. You're going to be involved in a new storyline, or there's always a future, something bigger coming. And when we build this up to go to the Madison Square Gardens, and the loser had to go to jail that night, in the back of my mind, I always hoped that I was going to win that match. I said, what a great exposure. Somehow, where Jimmy Hart, we'd screw the big boss man somehow. And up till that night, the night before, Pat Patterson called me at the hotel the night before of the show. And he says, Jacques, he says, tomorrow morning we're going to need you at the New York precinct. He says, we'd like to do some pre-tapes. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, that doesn't look good for me. And I was like, if I'm going to do pre-tapes in the jail, in the cell, it doesn't look good for me winning this match. But going there the next morning, the day of the show, and doing all these vignettes and all these things that they, it was funny. It was a Jacques Rougeau night in Madison Square Garden. It was there was two main events that night. There was Hulk Hogan and there was our match. That were really the main events of the show. The build up, the blow offs, and it's so funny because when I got in the dressing room on the second match, I think I was on the second match out of 9 matches, and I couldn't believe it. I said, Jesus, I should have been a main event, but I didn't realize what they were doing. And the only reason why they put me in the second match is because after that you had Mean Gene and Jesse the Body Ventura, the people that are going like after every match, well, Mean Gene, let's go back to the New York precinct and see how the Mountie's doing. And then they go on the giant screen, and then the whole night they kept coming back to the precinct and building this story till all the way till I get thrown in with this funny guy. But it was like. I realized that night that night belonged to Jacques Rougeau. That night belonged to me. Just that night is deserving to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
That whole match. That was I go to Comic-Con 35 years later, and it's so funny. I'm telling you, if there's 2,000 people that come see me in a Comic-Con in 4 hours, they come up to me and the first thing they do is they sing my song like I just did, or they tell me. That was so funny when you went to jail. And just people remember that. It was like iconic. And so it was a great character, a great time. Big Boss Man, one of the nicest persons in the business. So nice outside the ring. I got along with him so good. We'd go around the world working with each other, and we knew it was a night off every time we got in. He was the biggest man I'd worked with that could take my body and put it in a position where I never get hurt. I give him my body night after night after night, and it was such a pleasure working with that.
I was just going to actually ask you about Big Boss Man, so that you answered my question. So that was great. All right,
I'm messing you up there, ain't I, John?
We're doing really well here.
Yeah, no.
So I was going to ask you about Roddy Piper, working with him during the Intercontinental title match, because I'm sure you're asked him to death probably about that. But
he wasn't an easy guy to work with.
He was or wasn't?
Wasn't.
Wasn't. No.
He because he was going 100 miles an hour all the time. He'd never spell.
Yeah.
And so you had to have a great cardio to work with him. There wasn't like less is more with him. It wasn't like where I like the interaction with the crowd, to have the heel and the baby face selling in the middle of the ring, and then you have time to interact with the crowd and get the crowd going. There was never that time with him because he never stayed down more than 2 seconds. So that's why I didn't like. But as far as a person, the greatest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Nicest person in the dressing room, nicest guy, so classy. So it was just a matter of conflict of interest when we were working.
One question I'd meant to ask, and I just didn't get a chance. In the kip-up competition that you would challenge guys to do, and then you just put the boots to them, was that your idea?
Yeah, definitely was.
I loved that.
I enjoyed that spot.
That clips of you doing that to various people make the rounds on social media all the time.
Really?
Yes. No, that is a reel that goes around Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. People have watched that. That is so awesome.
I think in those days we had a lot of character. Like, it wasn't like 100 miles an hour, 100 moves in 10 minutes. It was like 10 moves, but time and space between every move, and time to let the people react. And there was a lot of characters, like, where personalities were coming through more than moves. Today, I think, for what I hear and what I see, there's a lot of moves, but the characters are almost all alike. Like, everybody's just about the same. There's no Hacksaw Jim Duggan or Jake the Snake or Macho Man or different characters that it seems like what I'm hearing is there's a lot of people that blend in the same kind of looks or same kind of. So we were lucky. We were in a great era where the business was fun. Apart from the traveling and the whole things on the outside of that was going on, our business was fun. Like working with the guys.
I'd like to ask you about winning the tag team titles with Pierre, Carl Ouellet. You were teamed up with Johnny Polo, a.k.a. Raven, a.k.a. Scott Levy. How was working with Scott Levy?
He was a great worker, I guess, in his own kind. I never had this connection with this guy because of everything else around that was out of the business. He had this lifestyle that was a little too wild for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, so it wasn't like Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart, I'd land in London and we'd go in the underground and we'd go find some bootlegging stores or we'd buy some stuff, and we worked, we shopped together, we traveled together, we listened to the same music, and I had this complicity with Jimmy. With Johnny Polo, I never had that.
Right.
So it was business, and that was it. Like, yeah. I can't tell. I'm not gonna say anything bad about him.
No.
But apart from his work, like, he worked well. I think he worked well. I don't have anything good to say about him. Like, it was like I don't really know the guy. I knew him when he came to the dressing room, and that was it. And we did our thing, and we worked together, and we worked good together. But it stopped there. There was no personal relationship with me and him.
How about working with the Steiners that night you won the tag team titles? Any memories of working with Rick and Scott?
Yeah. I gotta tell you, a lot of barking that night. When Vince told them they were gonna drop the belts. Woo! That was something, and they never took it really good. To be honest with you, they even tried to rib me down the road, and try to get some heat on me to cause me some problems with some boys, so that's
happened before, hasn't it?
that backfired on them though.
Yeah.
But it's like they never took that one. They never understood why it happened, and but some of the characters. It's so funny because that's one thing through all the years. So many guys are, like I was saying, Tito and Coco. A lot of guys that were so down to earth, and some other guys, they would believe so much in their character. Like, they thought they became the characters that they were. And that caused a lot of conflict with me, because when I spoke, like I said, there's no gray zone. And, so I always said what was on my mind. And so a lot of guys that I didn't like the way things happened or went along, I would say it. I would say it out loud. And I was one of the guys that had the most heat, I think, in the business, in the dressing room, because I always spoke my mind. I remember one time Beefcake was in the dressing room one time, and he went to see Pat Patterson, and he said because I was speaking French with Raymond and Martel, because we're speaking in our native language, or that's fluent, like it's so easy for us to speak French. And Beefcake went to see the agent. He says, "Hey," I think it was Pat Patterson. He said, "Hey, tell the guys to stop speaking French." And like, brother, and I turned around and I said my piece to him, like, and then that had a lot of heat. But they never asked Tito Santana to stop speaking Spanish to Pedro Morales, or and I didn't understand nothing what they were saying. But people who think that you're talking bad about them in another language, it's probably because they have personal issues, that they have to work out themselves. Mm-hmm. Because when I saw guys speaking a different language, I never thought they were speaking bad about me. I just thought it was easier for them to speak in their own language, and then it was easy to communicate. So all that to say that, I had a lot of heat with a lot of guys, and sometimes, sometimes I could have turned my tongue 7 times before speaking. I was very outgoing. I realized that over the years, But I got better in time, like everybody else. You learn from your mistakes and you try to make it better. But I'll never be perfect. Let's put it that way. But at least I'll try to be better than what I was. Makes me laugh.
All right. So after you wrapped up your time in WWE, you did move on to WCW with your partner. Any memories of being in WCW at that time?
Yeah, a guy called Eric Bischoff, who we didn't hit it off at all because it's always been at the right place at the right time, and we were coming in and the reasons why we went in there is because of that deal I got for them in Montreal. It was very simple. It was political. That's why we came in, because what happened is Vince McMahon had the exclusivity in the Bell Center at the Molson Center at the time, mm-hmm. and it had a different name. It was the Molson Center, and today the Bell Center, where the Montreal Canadiens play hockey, and they had the exclusivity on the building, so WCW couldn't come to Montreal. But I called Eric Bischoff and Hulk. I was friends with Hulk, and so I told him, I said, "Hey Hulk," I said, I could get you guys in Montreal in the building, but I said I'm going to do it just on one condition, that I get a match with you. That was all I wanted to do, was work with Hulk Hogan one time in my life, and then he says, "Well, how can you do that?" He says, "Vince has exclusivity in the building." I said, "Yeah." But I said, let me explain something to you. Because of les droits de la Charte de la Liberté du Québec, which is a law in Quebec, no American could keep a Quebecer from renting a Quebec building. It's a political thing. There's a law against that. It's a law against that. They didn't know about that. And so I explained that to Eric Bischoff and to Hulk. So with my lawyer, we had them drop the exclusivity, and I had them come to Montreal. So Eric Bischoff was very happy to come in and give a shot to Vince. And but they had to give me my match with Hulk. But what no one expected, me included, is Hulk wanted to put me over that night. And then I didn't expect that. And so that was amazing. So that's how we came across. But the thing is him being in the NWO at the time, the biggest character as a heel that he had, and he was over like $1 million with Razor Ramon and Diesel, and they had this NWO thing going. The fact that he dropped 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring with no gimmick or no nothing, just a clean pinfall, that got a lot of heat with me and Eric Bischoff, because of internet and stuff like that. It started getting out a little bit, Hulk dropped a pinfall on me. So let's just say I didn't fall into the good graces of Eric Bischoff after that. So we were paid to be in the territory, but we wouldn't work. We worked a couple of matches on TV, and we'd never win. Carl and I, we'd put the Harlem Heat over, we'd put all the teams over, and then we didn't have no future. So finally we ended up staying at home, and being paid, because we're under contract, like many of the wrestlers in those days were under contract, just not to be so convinced can't have them.
Yeah.
Like, Eric Bischoff signed a lot of talent just to get a hold of them.
Yeah, I think Lanny Poffo was one of them that was under contract and never even stepped in a ring.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, he made six figures a year and never had to work. I want that.
exactly.
I want that deal.
Yeah, me too. I kind of love that deal, because especially after doing jobs a couple of times, it's like, hey, I'd rather stay home and keep my merchant value, than being paid, than going on TV and getting beat, so and not having a future, no storylines or no nothing. So, but it's so funny because I'm doing a show now on TKN Network. It's something that I suggest you strongly to take a look at. I'm in. It's all different legends from different eras, like baseball, football, movie stars. All that when we were growing up, we're on this game right now on TKN Network, and it's a game with questions and stuff like that, and you get eliminated, and there's a trip to Greece and all that. It's really good. Go check it out, TKN Network. It's fun, and a couple of the wrestlers are on there. Jake the Snake's on there, $1 Million Man, Jesse the Body Ventura. There's a couple of wrestlers on there, but there's also Lou Ferrigno, like the Incredible Hulk. There's also Stephen King, the writer, the horror book writer. Stephen King, who does movies. There's all kinds of NBA Hall of Famers, football Hall of Famers, Jim McMahon, all kinds of celebrities from different eras. It's called the Celebrity Network. It's on every Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Is that something available in the United States?
So say what?
Is that something that is available here in the United States?
Yeah, it's made in the United States.
Yeah,
It's Abby Klein is making that. It's go on Celebrity Network on TKN Network, and you'll see it. Go look it out. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
And Eric Bischoff is on there.
Oh.
And so am I. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not just doing a plug here. I'm getting to a story where Eric Bischoff and we may eventually meet on this show to compete against each other. But I also did a podcast with him because I did a podcast with him not long ago because I have something really amazing. Like as you know, this Sunday, this thing with the tribute that we're having with AEW, but also on the 30th of July. I've never been a gamer. People game today in our society. I don't game. I never game. But in this one, a game here called Ghostmasters Resurrection, which is in there since 2003. It's a really popular game. I have a character coming out. And on the 30th of July, I'm going to be part of this in 22 different languages around the world. And it's going to be the supernatural officer, Jacques Rougeau. And
that's cool.
My character, listen to this. The guy, the owner of this company, he probably loved the Mountie because my suit looks just about like him. And my character is so fun because it has nothing to do with wrestling. So my character is, for example, let's say we're in the Bell Center and the Montreal Canadiens are playing hockey. And then you have these Boston Bruins fans that come up to Montreal because it's a 5-hour drive, and they buy the seats in the front row there, and they start booing the Montreal Canadiens. So my character is in the game. I'm almost like in jail, but they gotta free me. And if they free me, I go and I bully the people that are not in our city, and I have all kinds of powers to get them out of their seats and stuff. But I don't game, like I said, but it's it's on Xbox and Nintendo.
Sounds fun.
It's everywhere. And it's coming out on July 30th. It's called Ghostmasters Resurrection. And I'm the supernatural officer, Jacques Rougeau. So anybody who games, go check it out starting the 30th of July. And you can always write me after that and say, hey, you freed me. And I went to work for you, because I worked for you after you freed me. But anyway, that's something really nice happening, and I'm happy.
During that, I have still a follow-up question back to Hogan. I'm sorry. I will look for that game, by the way. So back to Hogan, I do have to say, so when you found out you were beating him, or during that moment, because I just watched that again before this interview, I watched the end of that match. You rolled him up. The crowd reaction was just so enormous, and again, just like WrestleMania 3, it must have resonated for you so much. What did it feel like?
it changed my life. It changed my life because, you know, there's a clean pinfall in Hulk. There's only 5 guys in 30 years that did it. And I'm the only Canadian to ever beat Hulk Hogan. So my notoriety just grew so big. And I had so much heat in the dressing room. So many guys, you know, that wanted to work with Hulk and had a chance to work with him, but never had a chance to beat him. And then they see this jabroni, Jacques Rougeau, who's beating him. Like, you know, they're saying, like, what's going on here? Like, you know, so that put a lot of heat on me with the boys. But with the people, like, you know, when I've never stopped in the last 30 years. Every time I do a podcast or a promo, I always mention it. Hey, I'm the only Canadian to beat Hulk Hogan. So I use that many, many times to give me some notoriety.
Yeah.
You know, so it was amazing. But, you know, Hulk, we became really close before he died last year. I was at his funeral, actually. And then the years before that, I was going to sing karaoke in Tampa at his bar, and I used to have so much fun with him. And he'd make me do signings in his stores in Orlando and in Tampa. We became close, and he really liked me, and he really liked me because of Raymond and I, what we've brought to the business, the way we're always dress code, we're always on time, working hard, taking his spot at the end of the night, you know, because he had to leave early, and we'd carry the show. And then he really gained a lot of respect for us as workers and stuff. But there's something that added on top of that. When the incident with the Bulldogs happened, and I stood up for myself, that created respect that was so enormous. And Jimmy Hart told me down the line, he said, you know, Jacques, he says, you were up against the world. And and you did what a lot of guys wanted to do and didn't do. And then, you know, so there's a respect that grew there. And I think personally, when I look back at this, and I think, you know, because the Bulldogs would attack just about anybody. They were afraid of nobody. They would rib anybody. And I think that Hulk somewhere was thinking that maybe his turn was coming soon. Even though he was the big man, the Bulldogs were caught up so much in their drugs and their own mind, and they were gone, steroids and this and that Hulk was always afraid of that moment, I guess, that they'd start ribbing him. And when I put an end to that whole thing, that whole era of terror in the dressing room, I think Hulk must have felt relief somewhere. And so he grew that respect. And I think it was told by me by 1 or 2 persons that I'm not going to mention any names, but that was one of the reasons why when he came to Montreal, he put me over. It was like for him, because in his own mind, I think he believed that he wanted to say thank you, I guess, you know, for that. So, but yeah, Hulk for me is always going to be and you know, sometimes unfortunately, I see some of the boys, sometimes they discriminate him or they talk bad about him, and I'll never accept that. I'll bite anybody's head off who talks against Hulk Hogan, because if wrestling is what wrestling is today, we're going back to WrestleMania 3. We're going back to he created an era. He brought everybody in the industry of all sports entertainment to us in the business. You can't bite the hand that feeds you today.
Yes.
You can't do that. It's unethical. And so Hulk, for me, anybody who talks bad about Hulk better not talk to me very long, because, you know, it's not going to last long in a conversation.
Yeah, I was a big Hulk Hogan fan.
Oh,
when we were younger, you know, even now, I felt really bad when he passed away. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was unexpected.
I just can't believe
Really
we live in a world where we don't have Hulk Hogan. You know, it's just.
Yeah, exactly, and it would be like I think it's going to be like that in the golf world. In the golf world, when Tiger Woods dies, right. or you know, something like that, when somebody who created something bigger than life for their sport, and when they pass away, they're going to bring back our youth, our memories, our where we belong, when we were brought up to, like, you know, our reference in life.
Right.
You know, and they take that away from us, like, you know, when they leave.
It was our happy point.
Yep.
You know. Yeah. What was it like when, like, okay, so when you went, you kind of went, we're nearing the end of our interview, but I wanted to briefly talk about I remember watching you in WCW with Carl Quillet, and I remember watching, you were the Amazing French Canadians. You were teamed with Robert Parker, Colonel Rob Parker or whatever, Tennessee
that's
Lee.
right.
Yeah, how was working with him? I had him on a few years ago on my old show in an interview. He was really cool to interview. He has a lot of stories. How was working with him?
Absolutely amazing. I love Robert, the bottom of my heart, because like I said, my first heavyweight championship belt against Joe LeDuc was in his territory.
Yeah.
And I worked a couple of years for him in Pensacola, Florida. I had my place on the beach in Pensacola. It was short trip territory, a beautiful woman on the beach, going to the gym and working with guys that were fun to work with. And I was riding with Robert in the van, and he taught me the booking part of the business because he was the booker. And so he would go through storylines, and once in a while I'd put in my 2 cents, like, what if you did this, like, or what if you did this, and well, that's good, Jacques. I like that, Jacques. And I grew up to be his assistant booker almost, like, after a year and a half, and so I grew a lot in the business. I matured a lot in the business in an era that I wasn't familiar with, like, booking and stuff like that. So he was a friend of mine. In the daytime, I'd go play ping pong with him. I'd play pool with him. Like, I became a good friends with him. So I go to Florida now once in a while, and I stop by his house. I go see him, and when I meet him in Comic-Con, I feel like when we meet, we're so happy. We give ourselves a hug, and we have this thing that we were. He helped me, and when someone in the business helps you like that, you never forget it.
Right.
Because So yeah, my heart goes out to Robert Fuller. He's a great man, a great person, and even Ron. Ron, I was not as close as his brother Ron, but great respect for him, because Robert and Ron, when they used to work the territories together, one would book, and when one would book, the other one would disappear, and then the other one would come, and then the other one would disappear. So they had this brotherly thing here, like, who's going to do the best in the territory. And so I was always with Robert. But it's funny because after a few years that we did good business, even Ron wasn't there when I was working with Robert. I drew some good houses with Joe LeDuc, and then so I put money in his pockets too. Even if he wasn't there, because he was part owner of the business. So he grew fonder of me, and now I'm friends Facebook with him. I meet with him sometimes, on Comic-Cons, and Ron loves me to death. We've never been friends, but he loves me to death. Hey, Jacques, you come to Tampa now, you stop by and see me, Jacques. Stop by and see me, So, but I got great respect for Ron also. What a great family, and it's what? It's a horrible shame that the Welches, the Fullers, are not in the Hall of Fame.
I know.
You're talking about the father, the grandfather. You're talking about generations of wrestling, and then but who you'll find in the Hall of Fame? Donald Trump, or you'll find I could go on and on. Some people that it's incredible. The Welches, Robert Welch and Ron Welch. It's incredible that they're not in the Hall of Fame. And like I'm thinking of the Von Erichs. I'm thinking of there's so many families that have built. I always said to people, you can have the greatest house on the top of a mountain, the most beautiful view, the most beautiful everything. But if your house doesn't have a great foundation, your house is going to crumble. Right. And that foundation of wrestling, you can't forget, and you got to honor. And Robert Fuller and Ron Fuller are definitely part of that.
Definitely.
So earlier you mentioned your sons are breaking into the industry. What's that like now, trying to have the fourth generation of Rougeaus?
Not trying. They worked for 20 years for me up in Quebec.
Oh, okay.
They all retired now because.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they all retired. They're all doing something else. It's so funny because my last match I had with them was before COVID, and I was with my 3 sons in the ring, and after the match, it'd been 20 years since I was working in my organization, wow. and they were at my wrestling school, and we did so well and so much fun together. And they came up to me all three at the same time, and they said to me, they made a meeting, a special meeting, and they said, Dad, for 20 years now we've been living your dream, but it's not ours. And so I said, okay. I said, okay, that was a hard shot, but I said, at least give me a last match. So we have together, me and my three sons. So there was 11,000 people at my last match, and it was sold out, the arena, 11,000 people, and we had a match with my three sons.
Nice.
And then from then on, they never did wrestling. So I went on to do more things with wrestling, wrestling academy, and all kinds of things. And one of my son, my youngest one, he's a referee. He referees for me and myself, so he's still around. But finished wrestling. No more wrestling for my three sons. But they wrestled for 20 years for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Do your brothers have sons or anybody that wrestles?
Yeah, my brother Raymond has a son. It's absolutely amazing. He's a pilot for Air Transat. Oh. But I mean, he's the captain, the pilot. He goes on the flights to Europe, the big Boeings and he's the big man on the flight. He arrives and he's got a co-pilot and he's got the crew, but he's amazing. His son, he did very well in that discipline, because Raymond always had a plane when he was young, and he showed him how to fly little private planes, Cessnas and stuff like that, and he grew into it and finally became a commander in Air Transat. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the big thing, the big deal. And my brother Raymond's the mayor of his city now, Yeah, wow. Raymond's the mayor. He's done his second term. He's the bright one between us.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So the Rougeau name lives, different eras, but we're still going on strong in Quebec. Yeah.
When it's all said and done, how would you want all your fans to remember you?
Like they do today, just my characters that I did, my dedication to the business, the dedication of the Rougeau family, 4 generations, 80 years of wrestling we gave. I want them to remember me as a person at any time of their life. They came up to me and they asked me for an autograph or a picture, and I was always smiling to them, and I was always happy to meet them. I was never rude to a fan. I was always nice to them. I want to remember the class that the Rougeau family had. From all my great uncle to my father, my uncle, we were always so kind to our fans, and that's what I think I'd want the fans to just remember. And I think they know. Just today, to give you an example, I got a call. It's so funny. Yesterday, about 6 hours from now in Quebec, 6 hours away from where I'm at, there's a guy doing not a contest, but he organized from one city to another, 78 kilometers. They're going to be swimming, and they're raising money to, and that foundation is to give the kids tools to learn to ask for help if they need help in life. And so I did a video for them today. They asked me to do that, but I do that like 20 times, 30 times a year. I have organizations that they call me, they ask me for this and they ask me for that, and I'm always there. I've always been there. And then so the fans will never forget us here in Quebec. But as far as worldwide, because we haven't had any visibility worldwide, I would like to remember us as hard workers, great entertainers, and just people who like what we did in life. We represented wrestling because we loved it and we honored it, and we were proud of who we were.
All right.
I could see you as a stand-up guy and a guy who would give the shirt off your back, That's how I see it.
I always, my best friend in life, unfortunately is the worst enemy of many, but my best friend in life is karma. And he's my best friend in life. I have so much help from different people everywhere all the time now. It's amazing. Like, it just, people help me for even my house. I just bought a little house on the river now, and one guy called me up. He says, "Hey, Jacques, I closed my shop with my wooden floors." I said, "I got a whole wooden floor to give you." I said, "Okay, I'll take it." But I got people helping me from left and right. I organize tournaments. Like, I have like next spring. I know it's far for you guys, but for me, it's a lot of organization. Next May, I have May 15th next year. I have a wrestling event which is called the reunion of Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy, which it's a wrestling academy I did for 3 years in the last 3 years. Brought in all the best talent from Canada, paid the flights, the hotels, and got $10,000 gifts for 4 winners. And it was a contest, and they spent a month at QT Marshall, Nightmare Factory, and send them to Mexico to train. And I've been organizing this. So I'm having my reunion next May 15th, for all the best talent that came in the last 3 years. And it's going to be in 2027. But I started in 1977 for Stu Hart. So it's going to be my golden year next year. 50 years in the business.
Wow.
How many people you know?
That's
How
awesome.
many people know that lived their passion for 50 years?
Wow.
Huh? It's amazing, huh?
That is amazing.
It is.
Where's that going to be?
That's going to be in Montreal.
Montreal.
At Leonardo da Vinci Center. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see, and you'll see it's if anybody who's a friend of me on Facebook, because I'm not on Instagram and all the real big ones. I'm on Facebook. I'm an old timer, and I don't know. I'm an old fashioned one, but I have my friends. I always answer my friends. If you write to me on Facebook, I'll answer you. I'll talk to you, and we talked on Facebook and on Messenger. And so if you follow me on Facebook, it's a public Facebook. So just go and see Jacques Rougeau and me and my girlfriend. You'll see us, the picture of me and my girlfriend. And you'll see all the promotional things that I'm doing. And Leonardo da Vinci Center next May 15th is going to be my golden show, my golden year show. Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Bring it on home, John.
All right, we're gonna bring it on home here because we have what we call, because it's double axe handle smash, and you know the name of the show is because of the move off the top rope, right? You double axe handle smash. All right.
All right.
I think I've seen you do that before, the second rope or top rope. I know Randy Savage did it too, but this is called the rapid fire smash. So we're going to ask you questions. You just answer the questions however you see. You could do 1 or 2 sentences. You could do a couple words, whatever you want.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so I'm starting off. What was your least favorite finish to take?
The Road Warriors clothesline off the top rope.
Okay.
How was that, by the way?
That was my least favorite movie.
But how do you prepare to bump for something like that? I mean,
You don't prepare. You just pray and you hope when it happens.
Best road companion. I think I've already asked you that. So
I'm my brother Raymond.
yeah.
Okay. All right, your favorite arena to work in?
What? There's so many good places. So many good places. Politically correct, I'll say the Montreal Forum.
Right.
But if I'm going to go away from my home, I enjoyed Bercy in Paris and France a lot. I enjoyed Sacramento with the Cow Palace. I enjoyed Madison Square Gardens. I enjoyed Boston Gardens. I enjoyed. There's so many I could tell you because we had so many great matches. And it's always the place is only as good as the matches you had.
Okay.
Because if you have a great match, you have great fans. And so there's so many places. I couldn't pick one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
If you were stranded on a deserted island with 3 wrestlers besides your brothers, who would they be and who would they be?
I would have to say Tito Santana. I would have to say Jimmy Hart. I would have to say Robert Fuller.
All right.
All right.
That's good.
All right. So if you could team with anyone from any era, who would it be? Where would you work? And would you be faces or heels?
I would tag with my brother Raymond. I would work in the WWF. And what was the last question?
Would you be faces or heels?
I'd be heels.
All right.
Did you prefer to work as a heel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what? I held a grudge against the American fans for so long because we worked for 2 years to try to get over, and they gave us a hard time. So when we turned heel, boy, did I let it out. Boy, did I have fun pissing you guys off. Boy, that was amazing. That came really natural.
Jacques, are aliens real?
Aliens real?
Yeah.
I
UFOs,
believe so.
aliens?
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe so. If we're here, there's got to be somewhere else where there's something, right? That's the way I look at it.
All right.
There's got to be another species somewhere else. Is that what you mean by aliens?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not illegal ones.
Yep. So, all right. Is Bigfoot real?
If you get Andre the Giant's foot in your face when you're coming off the ropes, I'd say yes.
That's probably the best one. Yeah, that's the answer. No. What do you think the best Indiana Jones movie is? Have you ever seen one of those?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved them. You know, I can't remember exactly the titles, but for me they were always in the pyramids and the sandquicks and yeah, I can't remember the titles, but I loved them
that would
so
be
much.
Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first one.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Who is the best James Bond?
I'm gonna go with Roger Moore.
All right.
I always enjoyed Roger Moore, but I also liked another one too in the late years and lately that came. Sean Connery was okay, but I like the one that what's the shorter one that's been in the last few years?
Daniel Craig. Daniel
yeah.
Craig.
Yeah, I kind of like him.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Now this question, according to this guy, there's a right.
There is a right answer to this final question.
Okay.
Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
No. Absolutely not.
Yes! Yes! I knew he'd get that right.
I guess one more for the bad guys, I guess.
I guess the Mountie
Thank
always
you,
gets it
sir.
wrong, right?
I guess it makes you a heel. You're a heel. Yeah, so that will do it for us.
Before we leave,
Yeah.
Before we leave, can I just send a message out to the fans?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Please
Yep,
do.
absolutely.
Yeah. Just a huge, huge thank you for everything you've done for us, for hating us the way you did, and for making the matches awesome. Because you know when you're in a tag team match, a lot of people think it takes 4 to make a great match, but it doesn't. It takes 6 to make a great match. You have to have 4 wrestlers, 1 great referee, and 1 great crowd. And if you have all those together, then you create a masterpiece. And I want to thank everybody that was there to create all those nights of fun that we had. That was amazing. It was thanks to you guys, the fans that hated us so much.
On that,
All
we
right.
can't do any better than that.
Nope.
For Johnny O
And Josh O.
so long, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the show. Join us on our YouTube channel. Double X handle smash, as well as